Let us focus deeply, intellectually, and theologically on Abraham, not just as a character in a story, but as the hinge of redemptive history, the axis upon which covenant, promise, land, faith, Messiah, and the destiny of nations turn. If you remove Abraham from Scripture, you elapse the covenant structure of the Bible, the genealogy of Israel, the Davidic kingship, the messianic expectation, and the theology of justification by faith. Even the New Testament stands on Abraham. Paul builds his doctrine of salvation in Romans 4 on Abraham. The author of Hebrews builds the definition of faith in Hebrews 11 on Abraham. Jesus himself says, "Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day." John 8:56. Abraham is not a side story. He is the beginning of God's redemptive solution after the chaos of Babel. Most scholars date Abraham around 2002, 800 BCE. The setting Mesopotamia. The city, Ur. Archaeology shows Ur was a sophisticated Sumerian city. Writing systems, trade networks, astronomy, polytheistic religion. Deep thoughts. Joshua 24:2 states clearly, "Your fathers served other gods." Abraham was called out of idolatry. His journey is not merely geographical, it is theological. From polytheism to covenant monotheism, there are three major covenant moments. Genesis 12. The call. Go from your country. 3. Promises. 1. Land. 2. Seed, descendants. 3. Blessing to all nations. Genesis 15. The covenant ceremony. This is one of the most important chapters in the entire Bible. Animals are split in two. In ancient Near Eastern treaties, both parties walked between the pieces. Each symbolist, "May I become like these animals if I break this covenant." But in Genesis 15, only God passes through the pieces. Abraham does not. The covenant is unilateral. God binds himself. This is a revolutionary theology. Salvation begins with divine initiative, not human merit. And here we read the foundational verse. "And he believed the Lord, and it was counted to him as righteousness." Genesis 6. Paul later quotes this in Romans 4 to argue that faith precedes law. Abraham is justified before circumcision, before Sinai, before Moses, before Israel exists as a nation. The text does not say Abraham was morally superior. It says, "For I have known him, that he will command his children to keep the way of the Lord." Election in Scripture is made. God chooses one to bless many. The promise in Genesis 12:3, "In you all families of the earth shall be blessed." This is not tribal favoritism. It is global redemption through a specific lineage. The binding of Isaac is among the most philosophically challenging passages in Scripture. Why would God test Abraham this way? Hebrews 11:19 explains, "Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead." This is astonishing. Resurrection theology appears before the law, before the prophets, before Christ. Abraham believed that if Isaac died, God would resurrect him. On the third day of the journey to Mount Moriah, Isaac carries the wood. A father offers his beloved son. A substitute ram is provided. Christian theology sees here a typological shadow of Jesus Christ. But even philosophically, tis texassix is faith obedience, even when reason trembles. Abraham's greatness is not perfection. It is trust. Trace the genealogy. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, David, exile, return, and eventually to Christ. Matthew 1. The genealogies in Genesis are not filler. They are bloodline preservation. After the corruption before the flood, the rebellion at Babel, God narrows history into one family. Redemption moves through genealogy. Scholars debate details, but several elements align with Middle Bronze Age culture. Nomadic pastoral life, treaty structures similar to Genesis 15, personal names consistent with the era, customs like surrogate, motherhood, Hagar narrative, while we lack direct inscription saying Abraham lived here. The cultural world of Genesis fits the early 2nd millennium BCE. remarkably well. Did Abraham doubt? Yes. He fathered Ishmael through Hagar Genesis 16. Faith does not eliminate human weakness, yet God's covenant continued. Why wait 25 years for Isaac? Delay deepens dependence. Promise without delay requires no faith. Why was circumcision the sign? It marks the organ of generation. The covenant is about seed. It is biological and theological. Abraham is central to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Islam traces lineage through Ishmael, Judaism, and Christianity through Isaac. Yet the biblical narrative clearly places covenant fulfillment through Isaac, Genesis 17:19. This is not ethnic superiority. It is narrative continuity. What Abraham teaches about God, God initiates relationship. God binds himself to promises. God works through history, not myth alone. God tests to refine, not destroy. God preserves a lineage for redemption. Why Abraham still matters? Because his story answers one of humanity's deepest questions. How can flawed humans be right with a holy God? Genesis answers, by faith, not ritual alone, not ancestry alone, not power, but trust in God's promise. Paul concludes in Galatians 3:29, if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's offspring. Abraham becomes the spiritual father of all who believe.